Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Welcome to the Sister Shanice Show. We are going to have another really interesting conversation with you today. For the first part of the show, we've got a special guest, Marlene. She's backstage. I'm going to be bringing her front of house in 1 or 2 minutes from now. And then for the second part of the show, we're going to be talking about the helicopter crash that happened in Nigeria. And I want to know why there isn't just more news about this. But first of all, family, let me just welcome you as you come through the door. Just want to thank you in advance for your interaction. Just want to thank you for sharing the link. Just want to thank you for letting people know that we are indeed live and direct. It is Wednesday. It is Ujama Day. And that means we are live and direct. It's 8 p.m. UK time. Not sure what the time is where you are, but let me know, okay? Let me know where you are in the world, where you're viewing us from. And I'm really excited, family, as always, to be spending some quality time with you, our family. So I'm just grabbing hold of the link backstage, and then I'm going to be sharing it in the background. But without further ado, let me bring to you our guest for today, our sister Marlene. So as I line her up to bring her backstage, family, just want to say that if you're not already a subscriber to the Sister Shanice Show channel, then please do subscribe. And when you come through the door, please do give us a thumbs up, give us a like as well. It'd be absolutely wonderful to be able to get loads of likes on the show. I've also noticed today that I've got over 400 YouTube videos on this channel. Oh, 400! Oh my days. So, if you're new to this channel, there's no shortage of videos for you to be watching. Okay, not sure what's happened to my guest there. So, looks as though she might have done. She'll be coming back in soon, because I was talking to her backstage just a short while ago. So I know that she is in the house. There she is, there, Sister Marlene. Take yourself off mute, Sister Marlene, and welcome to the Sister Shanice Show. Wow. So we've got an interesting conversation that we're going to be having today, family. And you know how it is. There's always another side to every story. So letting everybody know that we are live and direct. Let me start sending out the link. Greetings, Sister Marlene. How are you doing? Take yourself off mute.
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Just come back from sunny Gambia.
Oh, I know. And we're going to be going into that, because that's going to be our topic for conversation today. Family, Sister Marlene, as you've heard, has just come back from sunny Gambia. And where are you now, Marlene? Let the audience know.
I'm back in cold UK.
Back in the cold UK. Well, Sister Marlene, we've been running a series on being black and British, being black and born and grown up in Britain, or even if you're not born in Britain, but you've grown up in Britain. Because I have a global audience. We have family who are locked in from all around the world, from the USA, Canada, various Caribbean islands, etc., and of course on the continent. And everyone has their preconceived ideas of the UK, but most people around the world don't really know what life is like for us growing up in the UK. And so we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about life growing up in the UK. And then we're going to go over to talk a bit about, the sort of things that we would have learned about Africa in the education system. And as you said, you've just come back from Africa. So we're going to marry up and see whether what we were actually taught lines up with what our experience has been. Okay, so family, let everyone know that we are live. Sister Marlene, I wonder, first of all, if you could introduce yourself to the Sister Shanice Show audience.
Well, my name is Marlene, and I grew up in England from I was the age of 7, and the experience was bad and good because we were always told negative things about Africa. So many of us was ashamed to be African. And as I've got older, I realized a lot of it was not the way we were told. And Africa is actually a great place and a place that has all the wealth the world need. And it's not poor as we were told. And it shouldn't be poor, but when you go there, a lot of people do struggle. But it is developing, and hopefully it will continue to develop. And the people and just being there make you feel, that you've gone home, and you just feel absolutely, it's just an amazing feeling you get. So I think all of us should go and see the continent for themselves. And I always, was curious about it. So that made me take myself there. And I was just amazed. And I was just happy to be there. And parts of it remind you of the Caribbean. And the people look just like yourself. So you feel a part of them. You don't feel alienated like when you're in Europe, you're not a part of the people. So that is the great part about it. And the weather is just amazing. And it makes you feel healthier as well. Because before I left, I was seriously not well, had a chest infection, and goodness knows what else. And I'm back and I feel really fit. So that's even another reason that's why we should go there.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Marley. What an opening. You've gone straight into the topic of conversation. But that's okay. So we're going to rewind, wheel and come again. And so you spent most of your years growing up in the UK. And you said growing up, you were made to feel ashamed about being an African. So where did that start? Can you kind of put your finger on where that feeling started from? Was it in primary school, secondary school, college, university? Give us a sense of what it was like growing up in the UK, knowing that, as you say, you weren't white British, you were Black British. So give us an idea what life was like for you, please.
I just think back in the 60s, there was a lot of racism and it was quite open. So people would call you names, say things to you, and it made you feel different. And you knew nothing about Africa. And the first thing they would say to you is to go back to Africa. And you would think, but I'm not from Africa, because you were never told anything about coming from Africa. As far as you came from the Caribbean. So this Africa thing was very alienated to you. And I think when our eyes got open, especially by the Black Americans letting us know that's where we originated from, we started wanting to find out more. And then when you started wanting to know more, you started wanting to think, I wonder what it's like. But then they would show you negative things about Africa. So then that would put you off wanting to go there. So you were kind of having mixed feeling because you wanted to know about where you come from, but then you heard all negative about where you come from. So it sort of wanted you not feeling sure or wanting to go there. And there are even people still in 2024 not wanting to go to Africa. Someone asked me the other day, what is the food like? And I said to them, the food is like where you get anywhere, but it's cooked slightly differently. That's the only difference. There is, you know, there are things there that's just like what we're used to. So we need to visit there to see for ourselves and experience it ourselves.
Definitely. So you said growing up in the 60s, 70s in the UK, there was a lot of racism. It was open then, it was blatant, and we'd be called names. I can definitely remember those days as well. And so we'd be called, all sorts of names. And as you said, we'd be told to go back to Africa. And you said back then it was like, go back to Africa, but I'm from the Caribbean. Because, they just didn't teach us, did they, about who we were? Imagine growing up, not knowing that you were an African. Imagine a Chinese person growing up not knowing that they were Chinese. I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? But that was the miseducation of the education system. And so when was it that you kind of realized for you that actually, yeah, I'm an African? When did you realize that?
I think maybe as long as when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I started to see movies, read books, watch many things, and seeing, well, I do look like a person from Africa. And then once you start hearing your history about how you were brought to the Caribbean and how people were brought to America, then you realize, oh, well, that's where I originated from. And that's when it starts coming to you where you're from. And then you want to find out more about where you're from. And yeah, but um, unless you've got that interest, you still don't want to face up to it, because there are still Caribbeans that, and Black American, I would assume, still don't want to accept that they're from the continent. But that's the reality. Like you said, Chinese people, once you look like a Chinese, you could be born anywhere in the world. That's where you're from. Once you look like an Indian, you could be born anywhere in the world. Your origin is an Indian. So, you know,
Yeah.
how Black people um, obviously come from Africa because that's where they originated from. And that's where your people that look like you from, and your history let you realize. But not having your history can leave you in quite a lot of confusion.
Most definitely. And so, as you said there, you had to learn your history for yourself, like I did, because, we weren't taught our proper history in school at all. And I think a big wake up call, that aha moment for a lot of us was that movie Roots. Do you remember when that movie Roots came out? I think that was in the 70s. Oh my days. Many of us were having like the racism experience prior to Roots. So we were always made to feel different, as you say. We were always made to feel that we don't fit in. We were always made to feel that we don't belong in the UK, even though many of us were born in the UK. It was the only country we ever knew, and then there were those who came to the UK very young, but were never welcomed and embraced and made to feel, part of society, just made to feel as though, we were on the fringes of it. And then I think it was in the 70s, they played on national television a film called Roots. Do you remember that movie, Marlene?
Absolutely, because it
Impact on
really it really exposed a lot of things and a lot of cruelty that was done to people in slavery. And you just couldn't believe it because you were never taught it, you never heard anything about it. And it was quite a shock. And a lot of people were quite upset. And, it opened up a lot of our eyes, if nothing else. But it wasn't good to watch because you just wasn't expecting it, and you knew nothing about things like that went on.
Mm-hmm. For real. And for those who maybe don't know what we're talking about in terms of the Roots movie, wow. It was a movie that was based on the enslavement plantations, and we as Africans were the prisoners on those plantations, and we were the ones who were forced to actually work from sun up till sundown with the whips on our back. And there were some scenes, some really awful graphic scenes of some whippings in there, where Black men and Black women were whipped until the skin was hanging off their backs. And, if before that movie started, you felt 10 foot tall, by the time it finished, as a Black person, as an African, you would just wish that the ground would swallow you up. Well, I think that film also exposed the extent of the racism and the racial hatred towards us as Africans that existed during those times. And I think it enlightened a lot of us and made us realize where the racial hatred was actually coming from, because we were being shown how we were perceived in the main by white people as basically enslaved people. So, it was it had such a major impact on the Black community. I think quite a lot of young people went to school the next day wanting to beat up white people in the schools because it was so awful, that treatment. And so that was a big wake-up call for a lot of us. And also, around that time, there were movies about Africa. Do you remember Tarzan?
Yeah, I remember Tarzan, and I remember being really confused because I used to think, why is it a white man and an Indian boy and we're in Africa? And I'm thinking, how can Tarzan swing through the jungle? And they always used to say to us to go back and swing in the tree. And the white man was swinging in the tree and being powerful. And a Black man was nowhere to be seen doing anything in the jungle that was powerful. And I couldn't get my head around that. That was it just wasn't right. And they didn't even have a Black child with him. He had an Indian child. And I just couldn't work it all out. And they made it entertaining but confusing. And yeah. And,
So Tarzan, it was a very popular show when we were growing up as young people. And Tarzan was meant to be, like you said, white man in the jungle of Africa. And he was always the hero. Every Tarzan show was another episode of him being able to conquer the lions or the elephants or
very powerful.
Apes and gorillas on his side to, accomplish whatever his mission was. And there were the Africans who were made to look really stupid, as if, they didn't know A from B or what was going on in the jungle, but it was supposed to be their terrain. And so, this kind of white savior who was Tarzan, was the one who had to come and save the Africans. So we were made to feel as though, our people in Africa were insignificant, were, just didn't have any sense at all. And the white man was lucky that they didn't put him in a pot and eat him, because that's another way that Africans were being portrayed as cannibals. And so, with all of this negative portrayal in the media, in the schools, and generally in society, we got dealt a really big diet of kind of racial hatred towards our own people. Hence why a lot of Africans born outside of Africa for some time were really confused about their identity. And as you said, many didn't even want to identify with being Africa and didn't want to identify with being African at all. The other thing that jumps out for me, Marlene, I don't know if this impacted on you as it did for me when I was growing up, and that was the Biafran War. And those images on television of those poor African children who were left to starve because of the Biafran War. And as children and young people growing up, this is how we were made to see ourselves. Did that have an impact on you at all, Marlene? On how on the perception of Africa?
Yeah,
Share with us.
absolutely, because you just thought of people having these big stomach and hungry, and you couldn't make any sense of it. Why they're hungry, why they got such big stomach, and why have they got flies all over them. I remember that I found it disturbing, and then they would tell you it's a war, and then the war never made sense either, and it was just dreadful. And then people would even um, make fun out of you and call you a Biafran because, you know, it was something awful they see, and then they would put it to you as a person, and that would make you feel inferior. So, yeah, it wasn't good.
Yes, and so that was rubbed into our faces quite a lot growing up. And not only did you, as you say, it made us feel inferior, it made the little white children feel superior. It's almost as though they were given a diet which suggested to them that they were more superior, that they had the heroes, and the other TV shows growing up would be like the Batman, the Superman, the Batwoman, and all these white superhero shows. And it's like, where's the black Batman? Where's the black, Superman? Where is he? And so we had a real heavy diet of kind of racial trauma growing up, a lot of us. And so, when you got an image of like you said, the children with the big bellies starving, and then there was always the aid agency adverts that continue until today. Marlene, I don't know, how does it make you feel when you see the aid agency, the Christian Aid, the Red Cross, and all of and the Water Aid adverts wanting money for Africa? I remember when I started working, I would religiously contribute every month to Oxfam and the like, thinking that money was actually going to go to Africa to help save the children. I mean, what about you, Marlene? Did those adverts impact you in any way?
Well, it really did, because I gave for many, many years to World Vision non-stop until it all started to come out that most of it was spending on them having a good time, and very little was spending helping Africa in any way. So I just was horrified knowing that that's what the money was being used for. And you can tell because there's not been any change in the last probably 70 or more years in Africa. Everything is at a standstill. So where is all that money? Where did it all go? So yeah, so now when I see things like that, I just have, I just don't even, I switch off. I'm not interested. And we ourselves should go and directly help direct. And that's what I try to do now.
Excellent. We're going to come to that. I'm just going to go over to the audience, Marlene, and welcome everybody and family. Yeah, do share with us your experience growing up as well, and how Africa was portrayed to you as a young person, because I think it's really important that we share our stories. It's really important that our brothers and sisters on the continent and outside of the UK as well get an understanding of, the diet that we were fed about Africa and Africans, so that you can understand if, for example, you come across a Jamaican who says, "Oh, I ain't African," because you're not going to understand where that's coming from if you don't know the history. And we need to tell our history, don't we? So welcome to those of you who are in the house. So we've got Benny in the house and says, yeah, it's 3 p.m. East Coast time. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that. Earlier I was saying it was 8 p.m. GMT time, and Benny's letting us know that it's 3 p.m. East Coast time. Yeah, tell us in the house from Detroit. Oh, wow. You tell her, I hope, you're taking in the history of our experience being Black growing up in Britain. A lot of people from the USA say, and Dr. Winters as well was always saying to me, we need more of you in the UK to share your stories, to tell your stories. What was life like growing up in the UK? In America, we don't hear your stories. We need to know your stories and what your experience was. So we're running this series, and we're sharing these experiences with you. Doreen's listening in from Dunstable in the UK. Rise up. Zachary's in the house. First frequency, B1, all the way from Cheetown. Hey, welcome. Mahogany's in the house. Greetings, family. Watching us from Turtle Island. Peace and love. Black at you. We got Kimani in the house. Mahat Hotep, black at you. We got Sister Afrijamo in the house, watching from Ghana. Welcome, welcome. We got Lindy in the house. B1, Black First. Yes. Afrijamo rising up, the brothers and sisters in the house. We've got Jay in the house as well. Welcome, welcome. Brother Kwame, Jay. Welcome, boss man. Good to have you in the house as well. We've got conversations going on between the family. That is good to see. We got the DRC, richest country in the world, needs its resources, hence the war. Yes. And they're protesting at the moment, aren't they? They're saying they want the French out, they want the Americans out, they want the British out. They're recognizing and realizing that the UN and these people are the ones who are arming and fueling the war, and they are saying enough is enough. So lots happening there. Welcome, S.A. Smith. Good to have you in the house. We've missed you for a little while. Good to have you back. Kwame's bigging you up as well, Sister Marlene. So welcoming you on the show. Thank you so much, Brother Kwame. He says, I've been to Ghana 4 times and he's hoping to go next summer again for the 5th time. For him, it's home. He's visiting home. Brilliant, brilliant. And lots of messages here. It says, Marlene, you are a self-conscious African soldier without fear nor favor. Oh, rise up. And yes, he's sending lots of messages to you there, Marlene, which you can read later on. So to everyone in the house, Doreen remembers roots. Yes, Anthony remembers roots back in 1977. How can we forget it? Thank you, Brother Anthony. Good to have you in the house as well. So, Whiteheller is saying, yes, I remember the movie destroyed our frequency. That's exactly what it did, didn't it? It really impacted. It kind of knocked the feet from under us. Wow. Welcome, Mush. Good to have you in the house. Welcome, Thomas. Good to have you in the house, Jason. The family is coming through the door. Rise up, Sister Betty in the house as well. Yes, the family is in the house. Share your experiences with us. Tell us, what your experience was like growing up outside of Africa. Kwame is saying other racist white supremacy films such as Ashanti, African Queen, Zulu, and Casablanca as well. They're all coming back. Anthony Kunta Kinte having his culture beaten out of him. That must have really hurt the men quite a bit as well. Oh, rise up, I saw Haru in the house. Dr. Kafusa, it was rough. Rise up, rise up. Great to have you in the house. We're going to be coming back. So you can imagine, family, with that sort of backdrop, growing up as we did, 60s, 70s, 80s in the UK, where, this racial stereotype of Africa and Africans being poor, being hungry, being backward, it being a jungle out there, with this diet heaped upon us, I think it was around about the 80s that the tide started to turn. I think, the civil rights movement in the USA, the Black historians and authors who were writing books about our history. We started to get the knowledge of Egypt and our greatness. And I think our legs started to grow underneath us again. I mean, what was it for you, Marlene, that help to restore your confidence in being someone of African origin? Can you remember and put your finger on what it was?
I think is when I started to go to certain talks and hear people like Andrew Muhammad, talking about Africa and what we've accomplished in the past. Like we invented things, the first medicine that was created, even the first vaccine that was created was by an African. And I just started to hear so many positive things from people who studied and knew and, had the knowledge. And that started, there was Tony Warner, people like him. I used to just follow him religiously because his talk was powerful but precise. And I just used to enjoy hearing such great things that we done. Even they said, they talk about the Great Wall of China, and they never talked about the Great Wall of Zimbabwe. And I remember going with you, Shanice, and when we got to Zimbabwe and we saw that wall, it was amazing. And I thought, how comes I've never heard of it before? All I've ever heard of is the Great Wall of China. And just things, great doctors we've had, people that's developed things, cataract, the woman who created that was a Black woman. And there was just so many things that we have done that we knew nothing about. So when you started realizing that, then you realize we are really smart and clever people. So that makes you feel like you're somebody and not wanting to, you know, eliminate, imitate others instead of, being who you are and wanting to know more about yourself instead of thinking everything about you is negative. So
Yes,
thanks
yes.
to Andrew Mohammed, Tony Warner, these are all big names in UK that helped teach a lot of us a lot of things we never knew. And they're
Mm,
great historians. Yeah.
Big them
And
up every
yeah,
time.
yeah. And
Yes.
Robin Walker as well, who wrote the book When We Ruled. He's
Yes.
another great person from UK. Yeah.
Mhm.
So those are the things that make you start thinking, well, I'm not less than anyone.
This is it, because the history that we were told from a Eurocentric perspective made us feel that we were insignificant, that we hadn't accomplished anything, that, our ancestors, didn't have any civilized societies. And then here we were now in the 80s, finding out and realizing our greatness. And we want to rise up all of our great historians and researchers who were at the forefront of bringing these messages to us as a people. And family, you can go back on into some of my videos. As I said, I've got over 400 videos on this channel. And, some of the great names that have been mentioned, I've had the honor of having them on this platform. And their works is a testimony, really, of their greatness. And so, we had the great ones among us, and we had the great ones in America, and even coming through from the continent as well, because we started hearing about all these freedom fighters, these liberationists, the revolutionists who were fighting for freedom, in Africa. And so I think they got to a time, didn't they, when we thought, you know what, we need to go and see Africa for ourselves. And just to say as well, not only did they portray Africa in a really negative derogatory way, but they even portrayed Jamaica and the Caribbean as a really backward, underdeveloped and ghettos. I mean, when I used to see Jamaica on their television, all they would show us were the shanty towns, the zinc houses, you know. So I was so surprised when I went to Jamaica and saw mansions and houses built out of walls, not just zinc, you know. What country are you from, Marlene? What
Well,
country is your
I was born in Jamaica.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
was
yeah,
born in
you knew what
Jamaica,
made.
but came here when I was very young, when I was
Oh,
7. Mm,
right. So you
mm.
probably had some memories of Jamaica. But you know, I was astounded when I first went to Jamaica and saw the beauty of the country and how beautiful it was. I'm like, wow, you know, they didn't show us this on the television. Look how beautiful Jamaica is. Dunn's River Falls, White River, where you do the rafting, the sandy white beaches, Negril, Montego Bay, Ochi, absolute paradise. And then when I went over there, there was, you know, more Europeans on the planes going over to Jamaica than there were, you know, people of color. I'm thinking, what are they all coming over here for if Jamaica is so bad? And I remember going to Jamaica, and it was there that I saw the first pilots, black bank managers, black people in positions, which we hardly saw in the UK. And then I went to Africa. I can't remember the first country in Africa I went to and visited. It might have been the Gambia, actually. And I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't the Africa that they show me on the television. And then I went to Zimbabwe, and I'm like, I've got to bring some people to come and see Africa because they've been lying to us. So I organized a trip, and I think there was about 30 of us or so, 25 to 30, 27 on the first trip, something like that, that joined me on our trip to Zimbabwe. Marlene, was that the first time that you'd gone to Africa? Or had
No,
you been to Africa
I
before?
actually, the first time I went to Africa, and it was, I think it was Zimbabwe as well. I had a friend that I was very close to, and she was from Zimbabwe, and she said to me, Marlene, come and visit me and see Africa because I know a lot of Caribbean things very negative of Africa. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure about it. And am I going to be able to eat the food? And I had all these stereotype in my head. But because I was so close to her, I said, okay, I'll come because I love to travel. And I thought, well, oh, if I can't eat, I'll survive somehow. And I'm not skinny, so I'll make do for the couple of weeks. And I got there, and when I got there, I realized the food was like ours, and it's like going to Italy or Germany. Whatever they have, you have it, and you get on with it and enjoy it and make the most of it. And that's what I did. They had the pounded yam. I ate that because I was there with them. They had a meat made in a stew. I ate that. And I just became a part of them. They danced and did things just like what Caribbean do. And I was like a part of them. And they just said to me, you're like us. I said, yeah, I'm one of you. And I just fitted in because um, that's what you do wherever you go, even if you go to Europe. You know, the Germans eat these big sausages. When you get there, you have that. So you go along with whatever country you're in, and the food is food, but just cook slightly different. And if you might not like one, you like another, you'll always find something you enjoy. So, yeah, that was my first place when I went to Zimbabwe. And I end up loving it because it's an amazing country, an absolutely amazing country. And like you say, it's got buildings and everything like they have anywhere. And then
Mm.
after I came with you many years after that, and yeah, it was great. And a lot of the people that came with us, they were they've never been to Africa, and we all had a great time. I remember it was a wonderful trip.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, wow. We saw so many different sides to Zimbabwe. It's coming back to me now. I think, yeah, some of the first places I went to in Africa was Tunisia. That was like dipping my foot in the door and and then Egypt was another trip that I did in Morocco. So, but that wasn't, to me, that wasn't the real Africa, because it's
No.
Arabized Africa now.
Mm.
Those are the invaders that have taken over, our land. To me, the real Africa was getting into the heart of Africa. And I think, yeah, Southern Africa, wow. So for those of you who've never been to Zimbabwe, you absolutely must visit Zimbabwe. We went to Harare. We spent some time in there, which is the capital of Zimbabwe. We went to Heroes Acre, learned some amazing stories about the history, about the Rhodesian War, the struggle. We saw the graves of some of the freedom fighters. What else did we do in Harare? We went to the Lion Park in Harare. And then after Harare, we went to, I think it's Hwange. We went to Hwange next. And was it Hwange? No, Bulawayo. Yeah, we went to Bulawayo. Oh, wow, which is like another capital part of Zimbabwe, another amazing city. And the roads that we traveled on, they could compete with the UK in terms of their highways. You would expect to be going down highways that are full of potholes and all the rest of it. No, brilliant roads. And, we would be traveling for hours down these highways. I mean, Zimbabwe is about 2.5 times the size of Britain. And you've got a whole area about the size of the UK that's dedicated to the wildlife. That was Hwange, wasn't it? That was Hwange. And we met the elephants. We could feed the elephants. You could walk with the lions. We saw the elephants come up to the water hole and drink. There were baboons and monkeys, and we'd go driving through like on a safari, and we'd spot the zebras and the giraffes. The only time you see zebras and giraffes and the lights and those sorts of animals in the UK would be in the zoo. And, they never looked happy because, they were locked up. It was like they were in prison, but we were seeing them in their natural habitat. And it was just breathtaking for me. I'm like, wow, and again, going over there, it was mainly Europeans who were on the plane. And, I was just surprised the number of Europeans that were actually living in Africa. So I'm like, what are they doing here, living here? They're giving us the impression that Africa is the pit of hell. And here they are carving out a really nice lifestyle for themselves, living large in Africa. I'm like, this is their best kept secret. They've been giving us a dose of poison about Africa whilst, it was a big lie from the pit of hell. And here they were enjoying Africa. I mean, that surprised me. I mean, Marlene, what were your thoughts when you saw so many white people? I mean, look at Victoria Falls. I mean, they've almost taken over the whole area and come on and almost taken over all of tourism in that region. Like, what were your thoughts when you saw that there were
I
so
just
many?
thought they were having problems with Mugabe at the time when he was alive, when we went. And I just thought, they tell you that the country has no food, has no nothing. And it was completely different when we saw it because there was loads of food there. Things was functioning there. And Zimbabwe is one of the most developed countries in Africa. So I was just amazed, especially when we went to, remember when we stayed in that lodge and all the elephants and that was behind the lodge where we were. And there were loads of Europeans. And I thought, why would they be here? And they're telling us it's so bad here. And we felt like we were being brave going there and we weren't. It was just normal.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't make sense of it. I didn't make too much sense of it, but I think Zimbabwe is an amazing place, an amazing country, and the amount of driving we had to do to get to different parts. I thought that Africa is a massive continent. It's far bigger than what we've been told. There's no way it's even the size that we see on the map, because to get from one end to the other is unbelievable. Because even, you know, I know you're going to mention Gambia in a minute, but to go from one part of Gambia to the other, Senegal, it was unbelievable. It took about 10 hours. It was so far. And we thought, if you think that Africa is small, everything should be so close by. You shouldn't have to drive for hours on end to get to different parts. So I don't know. We've just been fed we've just been miseducated, a lot of things that really doesn't go the way it does.
Mm, mm, indeed. And, you know, we went to Musuya Tunya, the smoke that thunders, that was
Yeah,
renamed
that was
Victoria
nice.
Falls. An amazing wonder, one of the wonders of the world, another wonder of the world that you've already spoken about, the great kingdom of Zimbabwe. You know, we saw the ruins there of that. I think it was built between like the 11th and the 13th century or so. Wall, one of the walls was about 30 feet high, and it was built without mortar, no cement in between the stones. Yet hundreds of years later, you know, a significant part of the wall is still standing. You know, the Europeans went in there and they caused considerable destruction, as they do when they go into African kingdoms and cities. You know, they go in, they destroy, they loot, they take away the treasures, they bring it back and put it in their museums. And they try and leave as little evidence as possible of, you know, the former greatness of these kingdoms. But you can still see from the walls of the great kingdom of Zimbabwe, you know, just how magnificent it must have been. And when you read up about Monomotapa, another empire in that region as well, it's like, wow, you know, the history is phenomenal. So we had an amazing time in Zimbabwe. It was a trip that I did 3 times, and in all brought just under 100 people out there with me to see Zimbabwe. And I had a trip planned to go to Tanzania in 2020, but then the big sea struck, and you know, we weren't able to do that trip. And so I thought, let me just take some time out in the Gambia. And I've been taking a lot of time out here in the Gambia since. But Marlene, you have been organizing a couple of trips as well. Last year you came and you brought some people here to the Gambia who'd never been to Africa before, and you recently, well, actually, you've just returned from the Gambia. You returned this morning. So yesterday you were here in the Gambia, and you brought about 17 people with you, most of whom had never been to the Gambia or set foot in Africa before. And so, you know, share with us. I mean, and these are big people now. We're talking about big people in their 50s, 60s, maybe 1 or 2 even in their 70s, who have grown up on the sort of diet of Africa that we've been sharing with you, never been to Africa before, but have, you know, listened to Marlene's call and decided to join her and visit Africa. What were the first impressions, Marlene, from members of those groups that you brought to
Well,
the Gambia?
what I'd like to say is that I normally go to many other places, and then when they had the COVID, everywhere a change. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to Africa, because even though they were expecting a lot of things to happen, a lot of people to be affected in Africa by the COVID, to me, it didn't sound like that happened. It sounded like the devastation was mainly in Europe. So when they lifted that we could travel, I decided I wanted to go to Africa, and I've always wanted to go to the Gambia, and I never got round to it. So I thought, this is my opportunity, because a lot of places are stopping you traveling there, so let me go. So I went, and I was just amazed. I thought, this is a really lovely place to for us to see, especially people who have never been to Africa before. So then the following year, after visiting it, I said, I'm going to bring a group and let them experience what I experienced. And I send out a flyer saying who would like to visit the Gambia and get away from the cold for a couple of weeks. And a load of people respond. So I think there was about 16 or 15 people, and we all went. And they were all amazed because one lady came with us, her brother lives there, and she had never been. And she said she's always wanted to go, but I think she didn't have the courage. So when I made the call and there was a group going, she felt more secure. So she came and she was amazed she was able to see her brother's house. I think her brother had passed away since then because that was many years ago. And I went with her to visit her brother's house, and I think she wished she had been there years ago. And many of the others, they were just amazed to be in Africa, seeing Africa for themselves, and they loved it. And I thought, oh, this is an amazing thing, seeing the joy of people that wanting to go to Africa, but never had the courage to go. But having a group to go with, they felt more secure. And then this year I did the same. I thought, let's bring more people to see the motherland. And I sent, a flyer out again, and even more. And some of the ones that came before came again. And we all had an amazing experience. They love it. They didn't know what to expect. And I really loved the way we got the warmth from the people and we gave it back, and we spent our money there. I went to a school that I heard about that needed something, so I sent them some books and a load of material over, and we actually went to the school, saw the children, saw the people who are teaching there, hearing about the school, hearing about the struggle. And I just felt really great that they appreciated what we all got together and do for them. And I just hope it continue. And a lot of people, I think they were just glad to return to the motherland and see it for themselves, and not what they're hearing, or reading. They can actually see it for themselves, and they just loved it in every way possible. And they bought loads of African clothes, and it was great because we also helped the traders, helped the locals, help out in many ways. So just being there, just your presence, spending, and what else, you're helping the people them there. And that's what I think is one of the greatest thing, because we go to Europe, we spend our money, go to Africa and do the same, and help those that, really look like you and you want to be a part of, and they want to be a part of you. They even say to you, welcome home. And I thought that was a great feeling. Welcome home, you've come home. Yeah, so it was just amazing, an amazing trip both times. And I'm sure I'll do it again, because the more of us see it, then we can tell our children, and then we can inspire others.
Most definitely. And so, well done to you as well for bringing the groups over with you to experience Africa. Like you said, the vast majority of them, if not all of them, never been to Africa before. And so we're putting forth on Mama Africa soil, for the first time, thanks to you organizing that trip. So that is absolutely amazing. And like you said, they were amazed. It just didn't line up at all with what we had been told to expect should we go to Africa. In fact, I think, I feel that we were sold this misinformation about Africa to keep us out of Africa, to keep us away from Africa. Because even when you come to the Gambia, there were so many Europeans here as well. So many white people here in the Gambia. So if it was so bad, why are they coming? And if it was, and I don't think you can go anywhere in the Gambia without seeing white people. They find themselves in every nook and cranny. And if it was so bad, if it was so unsafe, if it was so awful, why would they all be here, living here, you know, building communities here on the continent? And so certainly hope that some of you who are watching and listening are feeling inspired, and that if you haven't visited Africa yourself, that you will do. You know, get together with a few friends, book yourself into a hotel for the first time even, and experience Africa for yourself. When you come, Marlene, you do some of the tours as well, don't you? So
Yeah.
just tell them what the process is like, you know, booking and organizing to go on tours. I mean, some people don't even think that there are tour companies in Africa. But well, yeah. Oh, you
Well,
have to talk about the trips. How did you do it?
I kind of say to them, because you come with a tour organizer from Britain, and I'll say to them, well, you can go and listen to the meeting, and if there's anything that grabs you, try and book with the locals, because the locals, you know, there's so little work for them to do, and if they've set up agencies here and they're able to do the same trip and use the same people, so use them and help them so that they can help their family, and you know, their business can grow. And so we go to the local agent, we talk to them, you get in touch, and you find one that you become really close to, that you enjoy how they operate and how they do things, and then you book different tours that is available for you to go on. And then when it's a group of you, it makes it even better, because it works out a lot cheaper, because there's so many of you using one, you know, vehicle, where if it's only two of you using a vehicle, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't work out that inexpensive. It works out a lot more. So when there's a big group of you, it works out far cheaper. And it's, you know, it's just great to have a lot of you going together and experiencing it all together. And they're really good, these agency, and you just make sure that they carry out exactly what you want, and you just have a wonderful time. So you just get there and get talking to people, and once you get talking to different agency, you decide from there which one you want to use. And that's how I normally, and because I've been a number of times now, I know the ones that I really feel close to, and I try to give everyone different opportunity to take us different places, that all of them get a little work from the groups that I take. And I think it's a fair way of doing it, to help everyone. I'm there to help the locals, and you know, the locals get to know us. And when I walk in Gambia now, they know you, and they've got like a computer brain. They remember you, and they remember how good you've been to them. And sometimes you don't even remember them, and they'll tell you something and you think, oh yeah, that did happen. And it's normally great. I love the people, and you know, they give you the same love back. They're really lovely, genuine people, you know. So it's a great place to visit. And because it's been split, because Senegal is a part of Gambia, because it's been split in two, it's a much smaller country, so it's very easy to get around. And Senegal is the French part of it. And actually, I did organize a trip to Senegal this time. It was a journey and a half. That was about 10 hours drive from Gambia into Senegal. So that's to show how huge the continent is. And
you had to get
yeah,
a ferry across, didn't you? I mean, most
yeah,
people talk about the ferry experience.
yeah, yeah, because we drove from one part of Gambia, then we had to get a ferry that took about 45 minutes to the other part, and then you're still in a little part of Gambia. And then after that, you get to a border that now Senegal starts, and then you go the rest of the way to get into Dakar. It's a journey and a half, but it's great. Yeah, it was a great experience, and all who came, they thoroughly enjoyed it and thought it was a good trip. So
Oh,
I'd
brilliant. So
recommend.
when's the next one?
No, it's such hard work. People don't realize the work that is involved when you're doing trips and when you've got big groups to get together. It is hard work. But yes, probably soon, if not next year, the year after. But I will do it again because I love to know that we as a people have had the experience of seeing the motherland. And that is a great passion of mine. And they see it, and they can go back and tell everyone how they enjoyed it, and what it really is like. So that's it. And they are a part of us. And, and that's what we need to know, and that's what we need to embrace and get our children to embrace it as well. Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
Yes, indeed. A passion of mine as well, for our people to visit Mama Africa and to experience the land of our mothers and fathers. It's our land of origin. This is where we originate from as Africans. And so at some point, we need to go back home and touch base with Mama Africa. We might have a heritage that belongs to Britain or America or wherever we are in the world, but there's a difference between our country of origin and the country of our heritage, So, for example, I've got a heritage in Britain and also Jamaica, but my country of origin is Africa, and I'm an African wherever I am in the world. First and foremost, before my religion, before my nationality, before anything, but before my clan or my whatever, first and foremost, I am an African. First and foremost, we are all Africans. And the beauty of visiting Africa is that you meet your other brothers and sisters who are there. And as Sister Marlene said, they say to you, welcome home. And they make you feel at home. And they know you as, the brother or the sister that once lived with them and among them on the continent of Africa. But because of, the kidnapping, we ended up, some of us in the Caribbean, and some of us elsewhere. So let's go over to the chat and let's see what comments we're getting in the chat. Patrina saying, yes, I true that. What's true? What's true? And White Ella saying, yeah, we need each other. It's so important. Absolutely agree, White Ella. We do. Those of us outside of Africa need those of us on the continent of Africa, and we need each other. We need to work together. We need to come together in the spirit of oneness. And when we can start moving together as one people, wow, it's gonna be a revolutionary experience. Kwame says, man, oh man, I'm so blessed coming home to Ghana. Plus, I'm hoping I visit Mali in Ethiopia. Oh, yes, that would be amazing. Bossman is saying Senegal is a beautiful, beautiful country. Yes, and Ghana is too. Yes, Mali and Ethiopia, lots of countries being mentioned here as being beautiful countries. The whole of Africa and the Caribbean are beautiful countries and islands. And, we can no longer allow anyone to suggest otherwise, because we're going there ourselves now. We're seeing it for ourselves. S.A. Smith says, I will be glad when I can visit the continent, and the continent will be glad to receive you too, I'm sure. Kwame saying, Ashe, to teach our babies about Africa and to take them home too. And he said, I'm with my family to Ghana, Mali, and Ethiopia. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, we do need to take our young ones and our children here with us. And even before they come, to tell them the amazing stories of our greatness. Because, you know, Sister Marlene was telling us that, you know, that's what helped to transform her mindset about Africa. When she started reading about our greatness, when she started reading about our accomplishments. Hang on, check out my book there that you can get on Amazon. It is a pocketbook collection of our greatness, some of our great cities, our great kingdoms, our great inventions and creations. You know, we have been on this planet for possibly millions of years, and we have accomplished so much. The first in so much, as Marlene was saying earlier, you know, we were the first physicians, the first scientists, the first to introduce agriculture, the first biologists, the first astronomers, the first construction builders, the first to introduce script writing, symbol writing, you know, alphabet. We introduced the works, you know, the first to bring civilization to the world. When we get to know our history, you begin to feel 10 feet tall as an African. Kwame says, amazing, Sister Shanice, visiting Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was indeed amazing. Dorian saying in 2024, there should be no more miseducation. All Black people should by now be aware of positive African history. Do you agree with that, Marlene? Should all Black people, do you think, are all Black people aware now of positive African history, or is there still a lot more work to do?
A lot more work to be done. A lot more work, because even this morning someone said to me, oh, my daughter is going to Gambia in a week or two. What is the food like? As if there's no food. I said, the food is perfect. And they're saying to me, oh, what is the people like? I said, the people are lovely. They're really friendly. They're nice. They're great. What is this like? What is that like? I said, there's nothing to worry about. I said, everything is great. They'll have a great time when they're there. And this is 2024. So it is still a lot of work to be done to convince. And then he said to me, he's going to visit there. I said, you need to go soon. I said, you shouldn't be asking me all these questions. You should know it for yourself, you know. So even this morning, because when I say to people, oh, I've just come back because I've got this glow now. Before I'd have a pasty look. Now I've got a right healthy bronzy look. And you know, people are saying, oh, what was it like? What did you do? This, that, and the other. I said, you know, it's absolutely amazing. You need to go there. And I'll even add this to the youngsters who can't find a husband in the West, especially I don't know what happened to our men here. I've bought a few there, and a few of them have hooked up with some men there. So if you're looking for a partner, you won't be short of any.
It's a Black land, it's a Black country, so men are in plenty supply.
Exactly.
We are the majority people there. So yes,
absolutely. But
find someone that suits you in Mama Africa if you can't find someone in the UK, where we are few and far between.
Absolutely. Someone was saying to me on the plane coming back, when you go out in the UK, all you see is women everywhere. And I think it applies in America as well. And then when you go out in Africa, you see men. But I must say they are young. So you better get there while you're young. And don't wait until you get up in age. It's a bit of advice
they get married young as well, don't they? So
yeah, they do. That's right. So we have to get there, but it's just lovely to know that you've actually visited, had a great time, and you know, we all should do it and we all should experience it. And we shouldn't be now thinking, should I? You know, because especially a lot of people are doing group trips, and that is a lot of comfort to people to go in groups.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. And plus, some of those who go to join these group trips, they join because maybe they haven't got family or friends who are prepared to go to Africa with them, because they've still got that stereotype idea in their mind of what Africa is like, which is, you know, all a lie. Afrojamo said, I had to send a video last week of Accra Mall, a shopping centre in Accra, to a friend so she could forward it to a man who thinks the continent is a jungle. We've still got a lot of work to do.
Absolutely.
A friend of my partner, when he said he was, you know, coming to the Gambia, said, but how are you going to cross the road with lions walking across the road? People actually do think that, you know, there's lions walking up and down here. No, you know, it's very much, you know, you've got your city, you've got your villages, and, you know, in countries where they've got enough land, then, you know, you've got your animal kingdom that has its, you know, safari region. So it's all very, very safe. So let's see what other comments we got. Oh, people are asking, like, Sister is, when is your next trip? When are you doing your next tour to Zimbabwe? Rise up, Sister Cassandra. I don't actually have a plan to do a next trip to Zimbabwe, but you know, I'm still getting calls from people from Zimbabwe. So who knows, you know, watch this space. There may well be a trip that I organize again to Zimbabwe, because you know, it's phenomenal. It's an absolute must do at least once in your lifetime. Let's see what we've got. The boss man says they tell us that Zimbabwe had fallen to pieces while they're living their best lives out there. For real, for real. I mean, there's areas, I don't know if you remember areas like Avondale, and I can't remember the names of some of the other areas, and Victoria Falls, where they've got these white communities and they're living in these mansions with, you know, behind high walls and behind gated communities, and they're living their best life. They couldn't live like that in the UK. They wouldn't be able to afford to live the life they're living in the UK as they do on the continent of Africa. You're so right, boss man. Let's tell it to the world. Let everybody know. Kwame saying that the Caribbean is little Africa. Yes, it is indeed. Yenge Impimpa Kiambote. Brother Mundele, good to have you in the house. He's rising us up, Sister Marlene, and he's rising up everybody in the audio. It's our Congo Leopard in the house from the UKKK. Rise up, rise up. I saw Haru, good to have you in the house as well. First time he said he went to Gambia. The plane was full of elderly Europeans. Don't even get me started about that. But yes, indeed. I mean, I went to a club in the Gambia once, and it was as if, you know, they'd opened up the old age pensioners home and let them all out into the nightclub.
Grab a granny.
Yeah, all these
old granny
living their best life. You know, having like a new lease of life out there. You know, them people, them steal and them God are people pierce as well. So we need to be there. Afrojamo is saying that what am I? He now loves Aki. Yes, I saw that video as well. Aki el salfish is our national dish in Jamaica. And in Ghana, the fruit from Aki trees falls to the floor and rot. Ghanaians are afraid of eating Aki, but Jamaicans know how to prepare it. Yes, we do. We know how to prepare it. Yes, rise up, Brother Kwame. And yeah, he's saying only Africa knows his or her stories. Yeah, Robin Walker, big up the inspirational Robin Walker every time as well, adding the name to the list of greats there, alongside ones like Andrew Mohammed, Leo Mohammed, and Robin Walker, Paula Bina,
Tony
for
Warner.
Tony Warner, and all the others, all the great ones from the UK that have been doing an amazing job for decades and decades, you know, reminding us of our greatness, you know, so many of them. S.A. Smith saying, I like seeing that Wadamaya and other Africans from the continent went to the Caribbean. Yes, indeed. You know, we need to do these exchange visits, don't we? The Caribbeans to Africa and the Africans to the Caribbean. Yes, indeed. Brother Wadamaya, Sister Afua, Tata, Baba Kofi, Amposa, Baba Maponga. Yes, all visiting the Caribbean. Brother Kwame is reminding us of some of the great scholars who have been bringing us bringing us our history. Ones like Baba John Henry Clark, Baba Ivor Van Sertima, Baba Ben, Baba Rononko Rashidi, you know, so many more. Chancellor Williams, you said Ivan Van Sertima, Sheikh Anta Diop, so many greats. Brother Small as well. Oh, so many. So, wow. Okay. You say, well, why have we got those eyes rolled out? Africans are the originators of law, architecture, medicine, languages, everything. We are the originators and they are the imitators. That's so it goes. Africans abroad, we have no excuses. Come home to Africa. Well done to you, Marlene. You know, for organizing those trips, for sharing your story with us. Firstly, of what your, you know, education was like, and you know what the impressions were that you had of Africa, and where those impressions came from, and then you know the enlightenment, the aha moment, the awakening. Thanks for sharing that, and then from there, you know, your journey to visit Mama Africa, and then your return with many more. May you continue to return with many more of our brothers and sisters, Sister Marlene, to Mama Africa. Do you want to leave our people with some final closing remarks?
A drink that I really loved while I was there was the baobab juice, and I've never heard of that drink before, and it's a drink that's it's grown in a kind of hard shell, and when you crack the shell, there's all this white seed, and then you soak it, and then you make this amazing juice from it. And I drank one nearly every day while I was there. So anyone who is on their way there, make sure they get drink baobab juice, and it's meant to be very healthy and good for the digestive system, and it's just so delicious. And they have something that we call sorrel, and they call it a different name.
Wonjo.
What do they call? What is it?
Wonjo.
Wonjo. They call it wonjo, and that is absolutely amazing. Wonjo and ginger, I would recommend it. Absolutely lovely. Yes, so that's their local things. And I really hope I've inspired all who are listening to visit any part of Africa, and Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kenya. I can recommend them all, and obviously Gambia that I've just returned from. And thank you all for listening.
We thank you. We thank you, Sister Marlene. Keep up the great works, and keep dispelling the myths and overturning the lies that they've been telling us about Africa. Stay strong and powerful, and continue to look healthy.
The glow.
Yeah,
yes.
Continue to glow. This is what they said in the chat. You're glowing. And yeah, you just had your batteries recharged.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Shanice. Thank you, Sister Shanice. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I'm tired, but I said I must do it because I agreed to
thank
be
you.
with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
So, family, you've been hearing from our sister Marlene there, who's just flown back from the Gambia with about 17 people that she took with us, all of whom had an amazing time. Yeah, I saw her out there myself, and it was a joy. And some of the people she was with were some of the same ones who came on the trip to Zimbabwe, and it was wonderful, linking up with them as well. And yeah, I think some of them didn't want to go home. They were having such a good time. And I was speaking to Marlene earlier, and she said, "Yes, I'm back in the cold England. I can't believe how
got a
cold
jumper on now."
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, indeed. But just a matter of time, before hopefully you'll be encouraged to come back. Right, I want to go over to another story now. I want to talk about that plane crash, not that helicopter crash that happened. And there doesn't really seem to have been as much news about it as really there ought to have been, because, tell me if you think this is suspicious. I'm just going to, bring up some news about it. Let me share screen. Yeah, let me share screen so that you can see the story about what has happened recently. And right, so let's share screen here. Here's the story.
Shanice, I'll be going now. Is that okay?
Yes, my lovely. Yes,
Thank
you can watch us online if you want to.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you too. Bye for now.
Bye all.
Okay, so family, why is it that it was only today that I heard about this particular incident? It involves the Nigeria's Access Bank CEO, who was one of a total of 6 people who died in a helicopter crash in California. The helicopter was taking them to Los Angeles, where they were going to watch, some kind of ball match, and the helicopter crash. This group CEO, I'm told, is a billionaire, and there were other millionaires on board the helicopter. So 6 people, including the chief executive of one of Nigeria's largest banks, was actually killed in a helicopter crash in California. And also on board, let me scroll down. So you had the 2 pilots who were on board, as well as the CEO's wife and son, who were among those that died in the crash. Yes, we do. We send our deep and sincere sympathies and condolences to the families and the loved ones of all of those who tragically lost their lives in that crash. Also, there was another very high profile, here he is, a Nigerian exchange group former chairman, Abimbola Ogunbanjo. He also died in the crash, and he was, a leading person on the Nigerian stock exchange, and had also been one to have made a significant contribution towards Nigeria's growing economic position on the world financial market. And so, this helicopter apparently was seen to be on fire in the air before it crashed near a city on the border of Nevada and California. So I thought, let me have a look who this Herbert Wigwe is and what there is about him. And this is the bank that he was working for. And it says that he is in the league of men whose fame have a hard time catching up with their remarkable achievements. He is the group managing director and chief executive of Access Bank, or he was. And they said that under his leadership, the bank has roared into the limelight with many brilliant strides and policies executed since he took over the helm. And they said that he is easily one of the best banking brains and business leaders on the continent. And they said that it's evident in his immense contribution to the African banking industry that, you know, he has this incredible, remarkable story of the journey. And let's have a look down here. It says everything Herbert has done up until the moment had prepared him for success because of his professionalism, his work ethics, his brilliance, you know, all of that was in place long before he joined Access Bank. But let me also go over to this is a tribute here on, what's that one there? Not Twitter, what's it? Instagram, yeah. So this is one of the other people who died in the crash, and this is a tribute that's been paid to him here. And it says that he was actually appointed as a chairperson that was responsible for taking corporate. He converted. Is it the corporate bank? And let me read. So it was the Demutualization Advisory Committee. So back in 1985, he had a rich career that started in Lagos, and that's where he was born. And his father was a lawyer. He was in a prominent position in America, dealing with oil and gas companies. And he was actually appointed here as the vice president of the Nigerian Stock Exchange back in 2011, where he chaired the governance and the remuneration committee. And he would also serve as the immediate past chairman of the Nigerian Exchange. The corporation, he saw demutualization into a public company. So he was at the helm of moving this private, moving Nigeria's stock exchange from being a private corporation to a public company back in 2021. And this experience with the stock exchange and the stock market, you know, placed him in that position where he was, so that he could even act for the World Bank during that Nigeria's indigenization era. And he also incorporated and launched an exchange in 1961. Wow, when it went by the name of the Lagos Stock Exchange. So someone who was, you know, again at the helm of Nigeria's financial banking system. And, you know, Nigeria is no small country. So when you've got such prominent people who are making such major moves, you know, these are massive movers and shakers. In 2017, he was appointed to be the chairperson of the Demutualization Advisory Committee, a team that will guide the BERS in its bid to transition from a mutual company owned by members into a public company, replicating the feat previously recorded by the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And he later became president of the National Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, taking over from Abibojoli. And, you know, his success at the demutualization was one of his fundamental objectives. So this is major, you know, this is, and so you can see, you know, where their heart is at as well, because they were transforming Nigeria, you know, from small corporate companies to major national companies, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, you know, following strikes that had been done and recorded in Johannesburg and in Nairobi. These were real movers and shakers, people who had solid background in law, in accounting, in business, you know. Wow, wow, wow. These were no small individuals. And this let me say a little bit here about this CEO who is being remembered here as well, who was killed in that helicopter crash along with his wife and his son. How tragic, how tragic. And let me scroll down here. Their passing is an overwhelming tragedy, it said on Twitter. That is shocking beyond comprehension. I pray for the peaceful repose of the departed and ask God Almighty, you know, and a multitude of Nigerians who are grieving for the families of the deceased. The country is agonizing over his death. He was only 57. He departed along with his wife and his son. And it says here that the Nigerian banking sector is in shock over what has happened. And he was seen as an industry leader, having been involved in two of the country's biggest banks, including the Gautry Trust Bank, where he was previously the executive director. And here it is, under his leadership, Access Bank's assets and presence grew beyond the borders in several African countries. You know, he was a key driving force. He was larger than life in personality, and he brought his remarkable passion and energy and experience to the transformation of Access. Somewhere I read it was like this bank was like a small little bank, and it's now one of the biggest banks in Africa. Where is that? Wiggy's death is a terrible blow for Nigeria and the Africa's banking industry. Nigerian presidential spokesman Bayo Ongungu Unaungua wrote on X, Wiggy had a big vision to make Access Holdings Africa's biggest, with all the unquenchable thirst for acquisitions. So this was a man who was in the process of transforming Nigeria's financial sector, along with his colleague who also, you know, lost his life in the crash. Let's see, what else is this? So Wigry's interest also spanned the education sector. His private university, founded in Nigeria's oil-rich Niger Delta region, where he was born, is scheduled to open in September. Oh my days! Can you imagine? You know, the students that would be going through that university. Can you imagine the cohorts of financial advisors? Cohort after cohort of financial advisors going through his private school with him to inspire them. Wow, this was going to be an opportunity, he said, for him to give back to his society. Wow, wow, wow. You know, where am I doing at California? These people love to dance with the devils. It's like they really don't know, you know, all the people there are that they're playing around with. Graham said Saturday that he did not have information about the two crew members, a pilot and a safety pilot. The aircraft, here it is, did not have a cockpit voice recorder or a flight data recorder and was not required to have them. That means that they can't find the black box to tell them what went wrong and what actually happened in the moments leading up to the fire on that aircraft. You know, what's that? You know, this is just crazy. It said that the Airbus left Palm Springs Airport about 8:45 p.m. on Friday and was traveling to Boulder City, Nevada. Graham said that Boulder City is about 26 miles away, southeast of Las Vegas, where the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers were set to play in a Super Bowl. match. So they were going to watch the Super Bowl match, and they took the helicopter, which should have taken them there in no time at all, but it hit the ground at a high speed, causing wreckage to spread across the ground and all of them to lose their lives. Wow, you know, family, these are billionaires, millionaires, billionaires. These are individuals who were larger than life and making major waves in the financial sector. And so, you know, they should have been getting protection at all costs. Let me see, how would I stop share? Yeah, they should have been protected as a people. It's just unbelievable that, you know, people of that sort of caliber, you know, can be, it's not careless, but, you know, just don't think, you know, private security, checking helicopters, only going in helicopters that, you know, is maybe your own or belongs to your people. You know, our people, we are just so trusting, aren't we? We are just so trusting. Let me go over to the chat and hear what some of our family have to say about this particular incident. Let me go on my phone. So, family, I've just been talking about the helicopter crash that happened last Friday that took the life of Herbert Huigwe, his wife, his son, and another very prominent Nigerian person named Abi Mbola Ogunbanjo, who was the man who helped Nigerian Exchange become a public company. These were the super rich who were making major waves in Nigeria. Wow. First time says, what's your sympathy? Your oppressors know how to steal your spiritual consent through your grief. Sister Afajamo says they made sure his son was on board so he didn't continue the legacy. Oh, so tragic. First time says, tell all the high profile Africans to watch their anus. Absolutely. You know, don't be going to jump on, you know, European aircrafts. You know, you're super rich, you're a millionaire, billionaire. You know, you should have your own jet. S.A. Smith says, exactly, someone with the status needs to stay, such status needs to stay in Nigeria. Yes, indeed. Kwame said, this is also caused by jealousy. Wow, nothing amazes me. That copter crash was deliberate. It's very suspicious, very suspicious. And look where it happened as well. So look who's going to be controlling the investigations. Wow, I'm sure there was evil at play here as well. Global Green Book says, this hurts my spirit. They can't stop our progress no matter what. Absolutely agree with you. You know, they can't stop our progress. Kwame says, my thoughts goes out to the families that lost their loved ones in that copter crash in LA. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And first time greetings spiritually from Chicago, USA. Give thanks to the most high creator of all, the creation, the judge, the juror, the one and only worthy of worshiping. Yes, indeed. Wow, you know, this is such, when I read this, I'm like, no, man, it's not sound right. Something not right, Yasa, you know? I want to know what your thoughts are, family. Drop and let me know what your thoughts are about this particular incident. As I said, it was actually my daughter that brought this to my attention today. It was a post that she sent me from Instagram. It was an Instagram post. The Shade Room was discussing it. And this is what it said. It said, the CEO, Herbert Huigwe, the CEO of Nigeria's largest bank, Access Bank, was killed in a helicopter crash that claimed 6 lives. Wigby's wife and son were also killed in the tragic crash. The tragic incident occurred on Friday after the helicopter departed from Palm Springs Airport in California, heading to Nevada. Authorities confirmed that all 6 occupants, including 2 pilots, lost their lives. Now, will we ever know what really happened? The investigators are looking into it, but these are not African investigators from Nigeria or from a private company that maybe, you know, his family are hiring, you know, but eyewitnesses were saying that they saw the helicopter catch fire before crashing. Does anybody know what could have happened? What could have caused the helicopter to catch fire before it crashed? And how can a helicopter that surely would have been checked over before leaving, before takeoff, you know, what could cause it to have crashed? What could have caused it to catch fire shortly after it taking off? I'd really like to know your thoughts on that. That it suggested that, you know, there was a bit of a weather condition, but, you know, there was a mix of rain and a bit of wind, but nothing that should have brought down that helicopter. But we know that the weather and the wind didn't have anything to do with it because there was a fire that was seen before it crashed. How did that fire happen? Was it struck? What struck it? If it was struck by something, what did that fire happen on board? Or was something detonated? What happened? You know, we hear all these stories and we read about these stories, don't we? Just like, remember the Russian pipe, gas pipe that was way under the sea, that the Americans got the CIA and all their people on board, you know, to go to the bottom of the ocean and to set detonators on that pipe so that, and then days later they detonated it. Could there have been something that was put on that helicopter, and just when, you know, these particular individuals went onto the helicopter, it was then detonated? Is that what would have caused the fire? Because if there was an explosion, it would have caused a fire, you know? Wow, wow, wow. Afajamo says they made sure, yes, his son was on board first time. Yeah, so any more comments? What are your thoughts on this family? Were you familiar? Did you know about this case? I think Afajamo also sent me information about this earlier as well. Wow. So, you know, I'm very, very suspicious of this. I am, your mind says, go deeper than Carthage identity growth. You'll be eased back to UB News TV. Stay vigilant and great fortune moving forward with those fallen entities on both continents, killing our people slowly. Sorry for not reading that properly. And Kwame was saying that, Marlene, you are remarkable. Yes, our guest Marlene was remarkable indeed. JKBs will say, aiming for the Super Bowl game. Yes, wow. Our people in Africa, especially our educational institutes, need to teach our youths our history. Yes, they do indeed. 11th of Feb equal 42 day of the year. Saxman was the 42nd president. Lotta ritual around Saxman. Wow, were they a ritual sacrifice? Who knows? Niobium is a rare mineral alongside coltan, cassiterite, etc. Will in tar metal, so a medical checkup from the Baka Batwa small people will have to be done by Ashanti, Brother Kwame. Okay, so there's a conversation going on there. Okay, I don't seem to have any new messages that have come in about this particular story, unless my system is behind a bit. But yeah, what are your thoughts about this particular incident? It's very, very tragic indeed. Let me see if I'm missing any messages here. I'd really like to know. Imhotep says, I suspect foul play. Yes, I do as well. Yeah, didn't know it wasn't a, oh, yeah, so first time say, oh, right, so there's some more messages here. How come these messages are not coming up on here then? Hmm? Right, where's those messages? I can't see them here. Anyway, this message says, we never learn as Africans. Baba John Henry Clark warned us. We don't have any friends. That's right. Doreen says something is not right. Absolutely agree with you. Something not right. And first time says really totally agree on no friends. Must get your spiritual connection back to the Most High Creator. Absolutely. And the Most High Creator resides inside of you. Deep inside of you is where you will find your ability to connect with your Creator. Kwame says, Sister Shanice, I love that there's a heart. It's murder as well as conspiracy. Sister Shanice, you and I know, okay, it was murder as well as conspiracy. Yeah. I suspect that there was definitely foul play here. I suspect it was murder. It's just a matter of time. Whether they actually prove it to be the case or not, I don't know. But that's what I'm leaning towards. This is just too suspect. Yeah, first time. That's right. There wasn't a black box or a recorder on board. That's what I said. How convenient. Yeah. Can you believe that? People of such stature going onto a helicopter with no black box and no recorder? Really? Very convenient. Too convenient, indeed. Kwame, did the copper crash happen in LA or near the city? Yes, they were on their way to LA, but no, it didn't actually happen in LA itself. It happened at the border of Nevada, it says. SA Smith says, we keep thinking our kindness and our trust will make them not see us as a threat. That is so true, that is so true. And we judge others, based on how we would judge ourselves. And, there's things that we wouldn't do. We've got too much humanity. And we don't seem to realize that we live among a set of people who have no humanity. We live among a set of people who have committed the most heinous crimes, the worst genocide ever known. We live amongst a set of people who would skin you alive, who would hang a woman upside down and cut her baby out of her stomach. We live among a set of people who, during our enslavement, did the most heinous things to us, unimaginable things to us. The lynchings, the barbecuing, of us as a people, the cutting off of male genitals, the things that we have been through. And the thing is, when we was talking earlier about racism in the UK, we were talking about the fact that back in the days, they were openly, blatantly racist towards us. They would tell us they didn't like us. They would call us, you black this, you black that, you with the, all sorts of names, Sambo, nigger, all sorts of names they would call us. They made it clear that they didn't like us. But today, family, since the introduction of the Race Relations Act and all of that, it's illegal for them to be blatantly racist. And so they are subtly racist. They hide their racism. They're not going to let you know what they think of you. They're behind your back at BA, this, but they're not going to let you know to your face. And so we there, because we're in our high profile job, some of us, sitting down there having meeting with them, thinks of them like us because they're laughing and joking with us. No, they're only laughing and joking with us to do business with us. And the minute, they're out of that room and the tie's off, it's like, oh yeah, that black monkey, that, black gorilla. Yes, and so we have to remember, as John Henry Clark told us, we have no friends. We have to look to ourselves. We only have ourselves, you know. Wow, first time says exactly. Say that again, Sister Shanice. Resides within. That's right. Ababa Kwame says, watch the devil that you don't know than the devil that you already know. And S.A. Smith is agreeing first time as well. Afrojamo, yes, it was tampered with. I agree. Why was there not a black box? Why? What happened to the voice boxes? Why were they not, you know, okay, may not have been compulsory, but you would just expect it to be there, would you not? And why were these things not checked? You know? Wow, yes, it was definitely tampered with. I'm sure that's why the explosion happened and there was the fire seen before the crash. Doreen says they have not changed. It's just gone underground. Exactly. Talking about underground, you know, look at the Jewish community as well that had those underground tunnels under their whatever they call their place where they do their worship. It's okay. Imagine, you know, underground tunnels and tunnels behind the walls. Where they really did I go on with? Yeah, all these people disappearing, you know, in New York and those and going to on the underground and disappearing, never to be seen again, only to find out that there are all these underground tunnels and underground passages and stuff like that. Wow, what kind of world are we living in? We've got to be careful as a people. Yeah, I know none of us are going to live forever, and I know all of us have to die one day, but we've all got to work and a job to do. You know, we have to do what we have to do as quickly as possible, put as much work and energy into what we've got to do, because boy, oh boy, you see when these people ready to take us out before our time, you know, but I want to rise up the spirits of those ones who tragically lost their lives in that helicopter crash. What a contribution that they made towards the Nigerian financial economy before they left. What a contribution they made. Took Access Bank from, you know, one that was like 65 out of 89 or something on the list of importance of banks, right up there to about the top 5. An amazing journey this must have been for Access Bank. Can you imagine? And the goal was for it to become, you know, one of the leading banks, the biggest banks in the whole of Africa. Who do you think wouldn't want that to happen? Who are the ones do you think that would want to get in the way and stop that from happening, sabotage that from happening, remove the people at the helm if necessary to stop that from happening? They don't want the Nigerian financial sector to be a success. And then they don't want that bank to expand to the whole of Africa so that we're getting loans from black banks. No, where they want us getting loans from the World Bank, from the IMF, and from them where they can impose their, you know, draconian conditions and their strict rules that stop our development of our infrastructure, our schools and our hospitals. You know, they want to maintain control. You know, how can they continue with the narrative about Africa being poor and impoverished and backward and underdeveloped if we're out there making leaps and strides, major strides in the financial and banking sector and on the stock exchange? Who are the people that would want to sabotage all of that? Global Green Book says exactly. Afrojamo says Access Bank is big in Ghana as well. Wow. Why Teller says, yeah, it tunnels under these hotels that we go to as well. So be careful. Yes, there's synagogues. Thank you, Imhotep. Yes, imagine what synagogues do with tunnels behind the walls and tunnels under the ground. Oh my days. Kwame saying nothing amazes him, but you know, yeah, I shouldn't be surprised, but I still do, you know, I still am surprised because why am I surprised? I sometimes think, surely, you know, these people are becoming more civilized now. You know, they're no longer living in the caves. They're no longer, you know, on the plantations, carrying out their heinous acts. You know, they've been living alongside us long enough now. You know, we've been humanizing them, we've been civilizing them for hundreds of years. Surely by now, you know, there is some humanity in them, but there's still a set of them. There's still a set of them. Wow, who have no humanity, you know. Wow, and there are too many of us who are practicing their barbaric ways as well. So I can't let some of our people off the hook when I look to see what some of the same people who look like us are doing in places like the Congo, in Somalia, in the Cameroon, you know, in Haiti. When I see what some of the people who look like us are doing to others who look like us, the Congo. Wow, wow, wow. You know, family, we have to stop mimicking the barbaric ways of these invaders that invaded our lands and have left behind and continue to try and instill on the continent of Africa and the Caribbean their awful, evil, wicked policies, you know, and lifestyles. My, global green, they have no spirits. And Kwame, I can't wait for our ancestors to expose them. In fact, you know, the creator that resides inside of us needs us to do the works, okay? We are the ones who have to do the works of exposing them for who they really are. Rise up, Brother Thomas. Welcome in the house. First time, do you believe in life after death? I believe our spirit lives on. I believe our spirit doesn't die. I believe that, you know, this body that we have is just the vehicle that we've used to come here onto this earth in. And, you know, we can run around and run up and down and do what we can do using this body, using this vehicle until there's no breath left in it, okay? Or until something happens to the body that stops it from functioning and stops that breath from happening in the body. And, you know, when our spirit no longer use this body, then the spirit has to leave the body. You know, that's I believe. Where we go, where our spirit goes, it goes back to where it came from. And, you know, it'll probably be the land of the spirits, you know, the spirit realm. There's probably another realm that we can't see and that we're unable to tap into, where we came from and where we're going back to. So we can only do what we can do while we've got this body, this vehicle that we can use to get us around the world to do what needs to be done. So those of you who have this invaluable vehicle that we call a body with full health and strength, who is not making the most of it, who's not going to great lengths to accomplish what you have been sent here to do, who haven't taken time out to develop your gifts so that you can be a service to your people, to your nation, and to your country and to the world. Shame on you if that is you. You is one of the man them that sit up on the corner all day, every day, doing nothing. And you have this vehicle and a spirit inside, and you have no will to go out there and do what needs to be done, you know, to make this world a better place. Shame on you. Global Green Book says, one love, Sister Shanice. Keep up the positive word sound. Thank you, beloved. Kwame, they are so racist, overt and covert. Definitely, indeed, Kwame, you are an N. That was what they called us. That's right. But you've got to read that book by L. Johnson as well, who has a very interesting take on that word, the N word. I was sharing what he had written with my radio audience on Saturday, and they used to call us Sambo, and then we find out that Sambo was a god, that the Negus used to worship. They used to ridicule Timbuktu, and then we found out that Timbuktu was one of the first universities on the continent that was a great place of learning, that turned out scholars and philosophers and archaeologists and all the rest of it, and had libraries and books. So there is so much of our history that they have ridiculed and denigrated It wouldn't surprise me if the N word wasn't indeed, a word that at one time meant gods, that they have denigrated to mean a word of shame. It wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't put it past them because that's what they do with our history. If they can't steal the whole of it, like they're trying to steal the whole of Egypt and pretend, that Egypt isn't in Africa. Imagine them trying to take Egypt out of Africa and put it in the Middle East so that they can claim that it was an Arab land and not an African land. Oh my gosh, these people are too funny. Anyway, I just see the time. It's 1 minute past the top of the hour. I want to thank you all so, so much for the first time saying, keep talking, sisters, keep talking. We can't chat from now until next year. I'll do a 3-hour radio show. So I could keep talking for another 3 hours. But, I won't keep you all that long. But now and again, I will do shows where I do a lot of talking. Okay, thank you for that. Afrijama says here, I saw a statue of Sambo in Bolongantanga in the north of Ghana. Yes, Sambo was a god. Yeah, that the Naga people used to worship, Naga, the Nagas, and the Nagas were meant to be God's chosen people, and Sambo was the god that they worshipped. Go and look it up, family. And then here are these people who, are ridiculing the name Sambo. I tell you. Anyway, so much more that could be said about that. Maybe one day I'll actually do a presentation on that, because I did pull some information together on the god Sambo for one of my radio shows when we were talking about doing a whole series of different religions in different parts of the world. And the connectivity between them all, and the fact that we as Africans, we were the first deities wherever you went in the world. The original deities wherever you went in the world were indeed Africans. Yes. Anyway, family, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Do sharpen your skills. Sharpen whatever gifts you have. Use your gifts to provide a service to your community. Use your gifts, to help someone, to help a school, to help a hospital, to do whatever you can, to make the place a better place, especially if that place is Africa, especially if that place is on the continent. It's up to us to be the change that we want to see. So to each and every one of you, I want to thank you so, so much for keeping it locked. All being well, I will be back next Wednesday. And guess who I've got as a guest? None other than Brother Jammers. Yes, you asked for Brother Jammers, and he's coming back alongside Brother Jenge. Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. Make sure you join us next Wednesday, same time, same place. Oh, and remember, if you haven't already signed up to my other channel, African World Affairs, please do remember to do so. Wow, don't stop it, family. Look at all your messages coming in. Don't keep me here, but I gotta go. Please give me a thumbs up if you haven't already done so. Thank you so, so much. More love, more strength, more power to each and every one of you. Sister She's out of here for now. Bye for now, family. Bye for now.